Hey, and welcome to When They Dare to Be Powerful, a podcast series celebrating the legacy of Black women in librarianship. This series highlights the contributing authors and the extraordinary librarians featured in the book, The Legacy of Black Women in Librarianship, edited by Dr. Nicole A. Cooke. Together, these stories honor the resilience, brilliance, and leadership of Black women who have shaped and continue to shape our profession. I'm your host, Dr. Cearra Harris, and in each episode, we center the voices behind this important work, exploring their contributions, their scholarship, and the lasting impact of the women they uplift. Each conversation in this series offers an opportunity to reflect on legacy, what it means, how it's built, and why it matters. These stories remind us that Black women have always been powerful forces in librarianship, even when their work went unrecognized or undocumented. Y'all, before we dive in, if you haven't already, what are you waiting on to pick up a copy of the book? I encourage you to grab your copy today. It's an essential read for librarians, information professionals, scholars, and anyone committed to preserving and honoring our collective history. On today's episode, I had the pleasure of speaking with Michele Echols. Ms. Echols highlights the legacy of Sara Sadie, affectionately known, Marie Peterson Delaney in their chapter. Ms. Echols believes that books have the power to challenge both the mind and heal the soul. A lifelong reader and a passionate librarian, her work is rooted in empowering people through literacy, reflection, and intentional storytelling. As a thought leader, librarian, bibliotherapist, and life coach, she is the founder of Curated Collections by SME LLC, a concierge library services company that creates professional and personal libraries using creative bibliotherapy. Michele also designs customized reading lists for mental health providers to support therapeutic practice. With over a decade of experience presenting nationally and teaching undergraduate and graduate courses across New York State, she specializes in information literacy, grant writing, career development, and reference services. She holds an MLS from St. John's University and an MS in fundraising and grant making from NYU, and is a graduate of the JRNI coaching program. A committed mentor and leader, she has served in numerous roles within the NYBLC, NYLA, and the BCALA, and currently holds a New York State Regents Advisory Council appointment representing libraries. A native New Yorker, Michele lives by Helen Keller's words: life is either a daring adventure or nothing at all. This conversation was so fabulous, and I'm so excited to share it with you all. Here is my conversation with Ms. Echols. Hi, Ms. Echols. Thank you so much for joining me today. We are talking all about when they dared to be powerful, and you are a contributing author to this amazing body of work. I want to first start off by getting to know you a little bit. So, could you tell us just a little bit about your background and what you do as a librarian?
All right, so I consider myself a triple threat librarian because I've worked in public libraries, academic libraries, and currently I'm a school media specialist. So that's the professional name I use. But when I write and I do things on the outside of my day job, I consider myself a thought leader librarian. I've adopted bibliotherapy from, of course, the research I did. So I call myself a bibliotherapist. I'm a coach, I'm a consultant, I'm a mom, and I absolutely am an avid reader. My background stems from youth development. My first position that I had in libraries, I was not a librarian. I was a full-time youth counselor at Queens Public Library when we opened up the very first teen space that had no books. It was fully computers. The kids went to get their books from the local library that was up the block. They put them on hold and they would be ready for them when they wanted to retrieve books. It was just a community center, and it was something that I was very well familiar with, having worked at major nonprofit organizations here in New York City that service youth. My first experience with libraries was at the age of 14, 15. I was a page at the Grand Army Plaza in Brooklyn, which was 2 blocks away from the high school that I attended. And I really, really, really enjoyed working in libraries. And I wanted to be a librarian back then. I would write in my diary, because back then we called them diaries. They weren't called journals, right? I would secretly write in my diary how I wanted to become a librarian. But unfortunately, the librarians that worked in Brooklyn Public Library at the time did not look like you or I. And I was discouraged from becoming a librarian. I was told, be a teacher, be a secretary. I'm telling my age now. But I worked in libraries when we didn't have any digital. It was all typewriters. Fax machine wasn't around. So yeah, I'm there. And so it was just that moment that it could have killed my zest and my love for literacy. But we don't know what God has planned for us. And he definitely took me on a journey. Like I said, I worked in nonprofits working with youth. So we still had book clubs when I worked at the nonprofit organization. So I was still around books. And then a childhood friend of mine called me and was like, I need you to come work with me in Queens because in Queens we need youth counselors, the librarians, which didn't look like you or I, were afraid of teens in the early 2000s, right? They didn't know how to reach the teens because social media was popular with teens. That's when MySpace was out. And teens just wanted to come in the library to just hang out, during after school. And the librarians didn't know how to create programs for them. They had some programming. So Queens Library received monies and they decided to hire youth counselors who weren't librarians, but were able to work during the after school hours. And so that started my career in libraries. And so I was at Queens for a while when the Institute for Museum and Library Services came out with a full scholarship to become librarians. Having been in the job 4 months, like I said, I have an insatiable appetite for learning. I was already in one master's program where I was pursuing a master's in philanthropy and fundraising, and I applied for the full scholarship to attend St. John's University. And 6 months later, I'm enrolled in the program doing two masters at the same time that particular summer because I didn't want to finish. I didn't want to just leave my master's in philanthropy and fundraising. I was almost finished. So I had 4 graduate classes in the summertime, did the darn thing. And here I am today, loving the work I do with my kids in the high school library. So I came full circle back to my youth development days.
That's beautiful. And I used to be a teen librarian. So I feel
Okay.
like I always say you have to be special to work with teens because
Yes.
they can see it. You can't fake it with teenagers.
Oh.
And I feel like that beginning part, you kind of fighting for your life. Like I'm here to stay, and you've shown them, and I love that. I I knew we would lock in.
Yeah, we locking in together.
So, what inspired you to participate in this project? What made you want to write a chapter in this amazing book?
First of all, the opportunity to work with Dr. Cooke, right? She's phenomenal. She's amazing. She's an amazing Black librarian, right? The opportunity to work on something that she's signing her name to drew me to it. But then also the title, right? There's 2 words in the title that I felt like drawn to, which was dared and powerful. Because like I mentioned, it was told to me how dare you want to become? That's how I see it now when I was told at the age of 15 that librarianship was unattainable for me. And so I said, okay, this title resonates with me personally. So that's what it is. And it's a different type of career. I bring a different skill set to the field of librarianship.
I love that. Now, we don't want to tell everything about the amazing librarian that you wrote about because we want readers to pick up the book.
Mhm.
You just tell us a little bit about who you chose to write about.
So I chose to write about the phenomenal Dr. Sadie Peterson Delaney, right? And she's a fellow New Yorker, born and raised in Poughkeepsie, New York. What drew me to her, she also lived in Harlem during the Harlem Renaissance. So how I stumbled across her was I was looking for Black librarians during the Harlem Renaissance. I didn't want to go with the well-known librarians of that time period. So I kept researching and researching, and I stumbled across her, and she had worked at the 135th Street Library, and she worked with youth. So her starting with there was my connection. My connection to her was she worked with youth at the library and the programs that she did, and she did a lot of innovative programs at the 135th Street Library. But then I just discovered that her love for people in literacy was just what drew me to her. So, yeah, in the chapter, you will find out her early beginnings, some of the great things that she did. She's also was a poet. And so that drew me to wanting to know more about her because I love poetry as well. But she wrote something during the suffrage movement, and it was a call to suffrage. No one has a copy of that, of the great speech she gave. So it's like, wow, we missed out on that. But yeah, that's what drew me to her was because I wanted to research somebody that was different during the Harlem Renaissance time period.
So I know you felt connected after you just spoke about feeling connected after reading that y'all both serve teens and all the
Mhm.
amazing things that she did. Did anything from your research really shape your understanding of your work in the field now?
Yes, lots of stuff shaped my work. It's the SEL, right? I work in a high school right now, so the term they use is social emotional learning, and that's bibliotherapy,
Mm,
right? It's just a modern twist on bibliotherapy when you are reading books. Like, so we read Chaos in Theory by Nick Stone, which is a great book. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it's a YA book. It's a great book. It deals with social emotional learning. It deals with mental health. It deals with suicide. It's so much in that book. That book is heavily packed. I read that book with my students. They loved the book. And it just that being able to put that tool in their hand, for me, it resonates with bibliotherapy.
mm,
SEL. So
I
that's
love
it. Yeah.
I love that. So, in what ways, well, I'm going to say, what does it mean for you personally and professionally to contribute to this body of work? What does this doing this chapter mean to you?
Oh man, I did this chapter during COVID. So that right there had a lot to do with it, right? We were on lockdown. It was COVID-19. We didn't know what was happening in the world. We didn't know what tomorrow was going to bring. And just to do the research during that time and find this great body of work that she worked with the Tuskegee veterans, the blind. I just saw something on the internet where the Veterans Administration profiled her for Black History Month in 2023. They never profiled her before, right? And so that was something. And so it's just her body of work for me means so much because she left behind a legacy that librarians can go to, and even everyday people, social workers, because she was a social worker first by trade, right? And so they can pull and glean from the body of work that she left behind that will continue for generations to come.
Did you find a deeper sense of purpose for yourself as an information professional? Because that's what
I
I'm feeling after listening to you.
I did. That's what made me start my business. So I
Mm.
started a business, and the title of my business is Curated Collections by SME. And I focus on building both home and professional libraries for people, for everyday people, and but with the sense of understanding bibliotherapy. My goal for my business, because I fell in love with, it's just, as an entrepreneur and you have a full-time job, it's juggling many balls. So I use my summer to really work on my business. And so this summer I plan to work with mental health therapists and provide them with book lists similar to what Dr. Sadie Peterson Delaney did. I researched how she broke down books and how she found the common theme in the books to utilize those themes when she worked with the veterans. And so another part that I learned about her, and I'm not giving away from the book, but she actually taught the veterans a skill in book repairing, how to repair books. I teach my students here a skill on how to work in the library. So it's just, for me, it's just full circle, full circle.
I was gonna ask you what you think her legacy means, but I think you're living what her legacy means. Like the work, the way you're continuing to teach and to just empower everyone and to create spaces for learning. You're living out her legacy right now. I think that's absolutely beautiful. So we don't want to give away too much of your chapter. We
Mhm.
want people to pick it up and read it.
Yes,
But if you
yes.
could leave readers with one central message of your
Oh.
chapter, what would it be?
My central message is this: Black women librarians, right? We've always been doing the work, that transformative work, that work that means and helps and touch people's lives. But the work holds our communities together, whether it was during segregation or it's during today when we're going through DEI challenges. The work that Black librarians have done in the community hold us together. Some of us, we must always remember that, with our work, it has to be named, it has to be documented. We have to get our credit because credit is always taken from us. Like, it's sometimes you go and you present at conferences and you have people see your presentation, and next thing you know, you see a turnkey version of your presentation. Then the next thing you know, you see a book off of the something that you've talked about in the field, and you're like, wow. But we just need to remember that if we keep fighting and we keep working towards the goals that we work towards, we won't be erased, and we will always leave something to attribute to others.
It's beautiful. That is beautiful. Okay, to close us out, you have really inspired me, so I know you're inspiring the other viewers of our time together. What is your hope for the future of our field, and especially for Black women who are emerging as professionals within librarianship?
I hope for our field is that we continue to create spaces, that we continue to not to continue to use our voices for the voiceless, continue to exert our power and not quill our voices, not shut her down. When we see that we're being marginalized, call it out, because for many years we never called it out,
Mhm.
right? When we see that microaggression might be happening to us in the workforce, because I said I worked in public. I didn't even talk about my academic librarian career and what I went through in academia, right? And that's a hard place for Black women. That is a hard place for Black women, right? And so just for future librarians to know that you are needed, know that you are contributing to other lives, and know that you're making a difference. It may be days when you feel like, why am I doing this work? But the work is important.
Thank you. I want to say thank you personally for lending your time and your expertise and just your heart, because it's evident that you put your heart into this chapter. So thank you for that. I want to encourage readers to pick it up and check out
Please pick it up. Please pick it up.
check out Mrs. Echols' chapter. Thank you so much for
My chapter is chapter 6.
yes, chapter 6. Check it
Chapter 6.
out. And then let's support you as well. So we'll have all your information so people
Yes,
can connect with you. Thank
yes.
you so, so much.
Thank you for this time. I truly appreciate it.
I want to send a special thank you again to Ms. Echols for their meaningful contributions to the legacy of Black women in librarianship. Their work is powerful, necessary, and deeply affirming, and we are a better profession because of people like you. Y'all, if you haven't already, pick up a copy of the book today and spend some time with these stories. They deserve to be read, remembered, and shared. Thank you for listening to another episode of When They Dare to Be Powerful. I'm Dr. Cearra Harris, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.